Your time's expired. Senator Hume.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise today to speak against the matter of urgency submitted to the Senate by Senator Cameron, and indeed the government opposes this motion and in fact denies the basic premise of this motion. The Coalition respects the independence of the Fair Work Commission, and it was their decision to modify Sunday penalty rates in the retail, pharmacy, fast food and hospitality awards, and it will help small businesses to open their doors and to compete on a level playing field and create more jobs. It was Bill Shorten who, as Workplace Minister, established this review of penalty rates. It was Mr Shorten who called for the review. It was Mr Shorten who set the rules. It was Mr Shorten who appointed the independent umpire. And it was Mr Shorten who said he would accept that independent umpire's decision. Labor is so hypocritical. It is so hypocritical on the issue of penalty rates. As a union boss, it was Mr Shorten who was happy to make the deals cutting penalty rates to low-income workers. It was Labor that was happy for big businesses and big unions to lower Sunday penalty rates through the enterprise agreements. Labor is only now opposed to lowering penalty rates when an independent umpire is the one that modifies them for small businesses. And it is empathy for small businesses that seems to have been forgotten in this debate. There are over 2 million small businesses in Australia that turn over less than $2 million, and many of these are family businesses, either working for themselves on Sundays and public holidays or not opening at all due to the cost of wages. Consumers are increasingly demanding that those businesses, large and small, operate 7 days a week, and by amending the Sunday and public holiday wage settings in the retail and hospitality and fast food sectors, more of those small businesses will be able to meet consumer expectations by staying open longer, and in doing so they offer their existing employees more hours or take on additional staff, including some of the 259,000 young Australians currently struggling to enter the workforce. So this lowering of penalty rates on Sundays creates a more level playing field for small businesses. Thousands and thousands of small businesses have been competing on this uneven playing field against big businesses who have negotiated with unions through enterprise agreements that mean they avoid paying those high penalty rates on Sundays. Let me, Mr Acting Deputy President, give you a couple of examples. For permanent, full-time and part-time staff on Sundays, a bed and breakfast, for instance, must pay $10 an hour more than a 5-star hotel. A family chicken shop must pay $8 an hour more than KFC. A family-owned takeaway must pay $8 an hour more than McDonald's, and a family greengrocer must pay $5 an hour more than Woolworths. The Fair Work Commission's decision will help small businesses open their doors and help compete on a level playing field and create more jobs. The Liberal and National parties will stand up for these small businesses who want to get ahead and for the unemployed and underemployed who want to work. Mr Shorten's hypocrisy on penalty rates knows no bounds. Mr Shorten was happy to make deals cutting penalty rates to low-paid workers, but he's always been happy for big businesses and big unions to have deals that cut penalty rates. He's only opposed to penalty rates when the modifications are made by the Fair Work Commission and the independent umpire, and those modifications are done in favour of small businesses. Can I point out to you, Mr Acting Deputy President, that the Fair Work Commission was in fact established. It was established by the Labor government in 2009, and the Commission was tasked by Labor to review all awards every 4 years. This is part of the 4-yearly review of modern awards established by the Labor government in 2009. As Workplace Relations Minister in 2013, Mr Shorten amended the Fair Work Act to specifically require the Commission to consider penalty rates as part of that process. Labor appointed all the members of the Commission who made the penalty rates decision. Mr Shorten owns this decision. He owns this decision. He set the rules. He appointed the umpires. He has repeatedly said that he will respect the Commission's decision. And in fact, Mr Acting Deputy President, on the Neil Mitchell program on the 21st of April last year, when asked by Mr Mitchell whether he would accept the finding, given that it was an independent body assessing penalty rates for Sundays, if he were Prime Minister, Bill Shorten answered yes. Neil Mitchell repeated the question, "You will accept them?" And Bill Shorten said yes. And Neil Mitchell said once more, even if the independent umpire reduces Sunday penalty rates. And again, Mr Shorten said, "Well, I'd said I'd accept the independent tribunal." Mr Shorten said he would accept this decision, but for him now not to accept the results is sheer hypocrisy and political opportunism. When he was leader of the AWU, Mr Shorten reduced or removed penalty rates for some of Australia's lowest paid workers. The workers at Clean Event were stripped of all penalty rates, with no compensation at all, under a 2006 agreement for which Mr Shorten was responsible as the National Secretary of the AWU. The Melbourne and Olympic Parks Trusts Agreement, approved also by Mr Shorten in 2001 and 2003, stripped workers of all penalty rates and overtime, except 125% penalty rates for work performed between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. Since Mr Shorten became leader, the unions have donated more than $25 million to the Labor Party, to the Australian Labor Party. And last year, they not only donated nearly $10 million to the ALP, they also spent another $16 million on their own campaign to make Bill Shorten Prime Minister. Mr Shorten has clearly made it clear that he will return that favour. And in the last year, he has taken the side of union bosses ahead of the 35,000 owner-operator truck drivers, ahead of the 60,000 CFA volunteer firefighters, ahead of the 300,000 small building businesses in the construction industry. And now he's putting their interests ahead of the small businesses yet again. When it comes to standing up to union bosses, Mr Shorten is proving himself to be the weakest Labor leader in a generation. However, by contrast, Mr Acting Deputy President, the Coalition understand that governments don't create jobs, employers create jobs. And we stand side by side with the hard-working small businessmen and women who drive this country. We recognise that the decision to modify Sunday penalty rates will help small businesses open their doors, compete on a level playing field with large businesses and create more jobs. Many small shops, small pharmacies, takeaways and hotels have found it simply too expensive to open on Sundays. This is also, Mr Acting Deputy President, an independent decision. Just as interest rates decisions are made independently by the Reserve Bank to remove any suggestion of political interference, decisions about employment awards and conditions are made independently by the Fair Work Commission, and it's done this way. It's done this way to ensure that outcomes are evidence-based and not political. The Fair Work Commission spent years studying the evidence. The Fair Work Commission spent years studying the evidence, including 5,900 submissions and 143 witnesses. It carefully considered union and employer views and expert advice. This is the decision that the Fair Work Commission has made. Now, Senator Polly mentioned the impact on women, and this is something that I would like to pursue a little bit further, because the Fair Work Commission, Senator Polly, expressly considered whether reducing Sunday penalty rates for hospitality and retail workers would impact on the gender payback and on the gender pay gap, and it noted—
Senator Hume, resume your seat. Senator Hinch, on a point of order.
Yeah, on a point of order, we've had Senator Polly. She's made her speech. Now, surely let Senator Hume make hers.
Thank you, Senator Hinch. I can't disagree with you. Senator Polly was heard in silence, and Senator Hume will be heard in silence. Senator Hume.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. The Fair Work Commission expressly considered whether reducing Sunday penalty rates for the hospitality and retail workers would impact on the gender pay gap, and it noted that the evidence did not support this. In fact, when it comes to underemployment in the retail and hospitality industries, women are overrepresented. In other words, women are more likely to want more shifts in the retail and hospitality sectors. They stand to benefit from more jobs. And also, many women own small businesses. Many women own small businesses
Order.
that will benefit from this decision.
Senator Chisholm,
I
you
would
will have
also
your
like-
chance. Excuse me, Senator Hume. You will have your chance to speak, Senator Chisholm. Senator Hume, please resume.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. Can I also please touch on issues that are pertinent for my own state of Victoria? During the Fair Work Commission's deliberations on this particular issue, they received a number of submissions from Victorian businesses, and I'd like to repeat some of the quotes in those submissions. From Mr Williams, the owner and manager of the San Remo Hotel in Victoria, who has 24 employees, he said that by reducing the number of hours that he worked, there would be more hours available for staff, a positive benefit to small businesses if Sunday penalty rates were reduced. Ms Usher, who is the owner and manager of the Fitzroy Beer Garden in Fitzroy in Victoria, has 12 employees, and she said that she expects that the 6-hour shifts currently worked by either herself or her husband would be taken by one of the existing casuals. The negative impact of Sunday penalty rates. There are negative impacts on Sunday penalty rates.
Order on my right and my left.
There
Senator Hume, please resume.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. There are negative impacts on Sunday the negative impact of Sunday penalty rates on small business if they are not reduced was emphasised by Mr Ryan, who is the owner of the Gippsland Hotel in Sale. He has 23 employees. And he works on public holidays with his wife and manages and doesn't roster any casual staff at all. Mr Bilston, the general manager of the Amora Hotel Riverwalk in Melbourne, in Victoria, has 89 employees. He said that skeleton staff are utilised in the restaurant on Sundays to reduce the cost of wages due to penalty rates. As you can see, as a business owners can hire more staff and have more working on Sundays, which suits customers, it suits staff, it suits business owners. This is an independent decision by an independent umpire, and Mr Shorten and the ALP and the Labor Party would do well to abide by the rules of the independent umpire.
Thank you, Senator Hume. Your time has expired.